Now the sheep
Who
came
knows?
and they read
All right, I'd like to call this meeting back to order.
Hang on.
And I think maybe we've gotten this straightened out with language up there, hopefully. All right, there was a couple wording changes, I think, since the printout, but the printout was really close. If we go over those wording changes, which was the third-party stuff.
Yeah, somebody much smarter than I pointed out some mistakes in here, or not mistakes, but, well, yeah, mistakes. Okay, so we changed after the printout, which we have.
Read it.
Oh, read the whole thing?
Yes.
All right. At the conclusion of a successful bid for a big game heritage tag, the bidder or the bidder's agent shall designate the eligible hunter whose name will appear on the big game heritage tag. The bidder may thereafter designate an alternative person to apply for the big game heritage tag by contacting the Nevada Department of Wildlife. The Nevada Department of Wildlife should confirm that the application for a big game heritage tag is being transferred to an eligible hunter and not to a third party. And that was third party was changed from second vendor was changed to third party. A buyer, and because it was pointed out that the vendor is usually out of the picture by this point. So a buyer selected by the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners may not transfer a big game heritage tag application to
The buyer, wait a minute.
So-
They're not selected by the commission, Ryan, so it's
So
just
the
a buyer.
vendor
not
is-
transfer.
A buyer,
oh,
a
that's
buyer,
right. Yeah.
strike.
Another buyer.
A buyer.
How about a buyer may not transfer a big
And then
game?
strike that whole rest.
Yeah, so
vendor
we're striking that.
commissioners.
So a buyer may not transfer a big game heritage application. Do you want to say big game heritage tag
Tag
application?
application,
Okay.
yeah.
Tag application.
So I'm going to put that in blue so Kim will know where I put all that stuff. All right. So big game heritage tag application to a third party without the approval of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners as required by NRS 502.250 sub 5 and will inform the Nevada Department of Wildlife as to the eligible hunter, and I don't know if you want to change that to person, but eligible hunter designated by the buyer. Oh, wait a minute. We don't need that because the buyer is the one doing it up here. So just inform the Nevada Department of Wildlife. Or maybe, all right, hang on. A buyer may not transfer a big game heritage tag application to a third party without the approval of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners, probably period after 502.250
Yeah,
sub
period
5.
after 2505. Take out the rest of it.
Okay, but then there was some discussion on this, that this might be best appropriate outside of policy, is that right?
Right, because of the conflict between the commission regulation and the policy. I mean, you could you need to change the commission regulation is the bottom line, whether you change the policy or not.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Brian, on that second paragraph, the last sentence says, the Nevada Department of Wildlife should confirm that application for a big game heritage tag is being transferred to an eligible hunter and not to a third party. But then you also say down here in the next sentence, next paragraph, a buyer may not transfer a big game heritage tag application to a third party without the approval of the Board of Wildlife Commissioners. Your first here, you're saying it's required by the commission, and then in the one above it, you said it's notified Department of Wildlife.
We took that Board of Wildlife Commissioners out.
Well, no, you're right, because what we're saying is they can, you're right, in the paragraph up above, we're saying they can put a new name on the tag. I don't know, we might have to play with this language, because the intent of this paragraph down here with the third-party language was to keep it from being transferred to another person who might vendor it, whereas the language up above was allowing the buyer, the bidder, to pick who he wants to use the tag. So
No additional
we
consideration.
might need to work on that language a little bit.
How about if, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
How about if all of that language sounds like it's good to go into the commission regulation itself? Why not, for the policy that we're doing here, put in the bottom part which says which
Yeah.
would say a vendor may not allow a big game heritage tag to be auctioned, resold, bartered, or traded a second time without approval of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commission.
It's true.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner Capero, I was gonna make this into one motion. I was gonna do exactly what you said in the policy. I was gonna put that in, but I was also gonna put in the motion, to make a future agenda item for this thing. So I wanna put in one motion here. So that's why we gotta get this straightened out. I've
But-
got this, just what
Okay.
you said down.
I think you have to add that without approval, because otherwise it would say you can't do it, period.
All right, let me throw this one thing out, Brian. A should to shall, because since we're talking about regulation, we can put that should that's in the second paragraph, and the Nevada Department of Wildlife should confirm that that application for, that could be a shall.
Should be a shall, shouldn't it?
That a shall would be more appropriate, and it would be in regulation is what he's talking about, or the proposed regulation.
Right.
Right, and once you vote to put that in a proposed regulation, I'll go ahead and make that change, but while we're still talking about putting it in policy.
Or not.
Or not?
I don't know.
Now this, I think.
We got a motion here. Well,
Do we have a motion?
We can talk
I didn't
about
hear a
it.
motion.
We have a motion. He's
I will,
got it.
I will
He's
read
got it
the, I
narrowed
will
down.
read the motion, okay?
It's for the policy.
Policy.
This is policy number
10.
Okay.
10.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to amend Commission Policy Number 10 to read a new number 5, to read a vendor for big game heritage tags may not you want to say a vendor may not resold, may not resell, auction, barter, or trade the tag a second time without permission of the Board of Wildlife Commissioners.
Okay, so can
No.
you say that one more time?
That won't work.
Just help me with this language then.
All right. Okay.
What?
Daryl's going to try to restate that.
Okay.
The new 5, a vendor may not allow a big game heritage tag to be auctioned, resold, bartered, or traded a second time without approval of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners.
Perfect. Did you get that?
Check.
And I'd also like to add to that motion that, well, as recommended by Commissioner Macbeth, but I guess we don't need that, do we? As recommended by Commissioner Macbeth, and to be made a future agenda item for commission regulation, and I'd like to put the wording in there. At the conclusion of a successful bid for a big game heritage tag, the bidder or the bidder's agent shall designate the eligible hunter whose name will appear on the big game heritage tag. And I'm going to eliminate that second paragraph. A buyer may not transfer a big game heritage tag to a third party without the approval of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners as required by NRS 502.250 parentheses 5 period. And that would be in a future agenda item for commission regulation, and I think that would still cover it, and then that 30-day would not have to be changed. We're still giving somebody 30 days to do that, right?
And if they get,
No, what you're doing is you're taking out the 30 days and putting in this language, I thought.
Okay.
Well,
But you can do
that's-
that at the time.
Okay,
Yeah, do that at the time.
right now I've got a motion without a second.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to do all of what Commissioner Lent said, seconds by Commissioner Capurro. We have discussion on the motion.
Thank you, Chairman Raine. The problem I see with striking the second paragraph, and the reason for the second paragraph, is to take into account a different scenario than the third paragraph. The second paragraph is to deal with the situation where somebody just wants to put another name on there, and there's not, and my intent is that be a transaction where there's no additional consideration that would be going to anybody. And so if father bids on the tag, all they have to do is go to the department, and just so there's department oversight to make sure that the name that goes on the tag, other than the bidder, is a person that the department feels comfortable, is not, paying any additional consideration. And then the third paragraph was to deal with the issue of vendors, doing a second auction or otherwise trying to sell or pocket the difference between what they paid for it and what they might get in another transaction.
Are you proposing to amend the motion?
Okay, Mr. Vice Chairman?
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The second paragraph designates a department to be able to do that, and if they wanted to resell the tag, somebody did, or re-give it to another party, the third paragraph would allow them to do it, but they'd have to get commission approvals all, not department approval.
Well, right. The one thing about this motion, though, is we're recommending this go forward, and then that's to be determined at another meeting, another day, that language. This is just going to be language thrown out there, so if we got a bunch of options on it, we can hash them out basically later. We got a motion, a second on the floor. We'll go with it or kill it and come back for another one. So everybody understands the motion.
Can I just chime in and see if I understand the motion?
Okay.
So the motion then is that we will change commission policy and then agendize this
At our next meeting.
in our next meeting.
Yes, we'll change commission policy because we can't.
I've got this. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could you read only the change to the commission policy one more time?
That would be item 5. Let Darrell do it. He read it the first time. Read it again.
Thank
I
you,
got it
Mr.
written,
Chairman. Item 5, a vendor may not allow a big game heritage tag to be auctioned, resold, bartered, or traded a second time without approval of the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners.
That's the only change to the existing policy.
And then appropriate housekeeping,
Renumbering.
renumbering and dating and such.
Let's vote.
Everybody understand the motion? Please.
Yeah, I guess I would rather see actually everything that we just did be actually put in the policy. That was actually that's where I thought we were going with this, was alternatives to the original paragraph 5 that we were talking about. And I do agree that, subsequent to the policy being amended, that we also change the commission regulation. I think you have to conform. But I would like to see, everything that we just did actually built into the policy.
Policy provides guidance. CRs provide precise detail. I don't know. We got a motion and a second on the floor. Everybody understand the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes 8-0. Let's move on. Let's move on, and this one, 29, number 50, duck stamp procedure. All right, we come up with several suggestions last time. Hopefully we can just pick out the best of the best and move this one right along. But first, I would like to hear if there's any, if there's anybody from the duck stamp, from the duck club here? None. All right, any public comment? Public comment, now's your time. Rex, tell us the story.
Same situation, Rex Flowers, Washington County. We totally opposed it. We did have Nevada waterfowlers at our meeting, and basically, they don't support this, and they are the organization that has sponsored the duck stamp over the last many years, it seems like. So we went with what their input was.
Just a question, what is the work, did you remember the biggest points of problem with them? It was,
They want 7 instead of 5 individuals, and
Yep.
they want 2 instead of 3 on the commissioners.
that was the biggest, the biggest.
That, and then the number 4 on your, on down here, having to do with the $3,000 bonding. They said that, nobody's gonna back that.
And I don't think they had an issue with the number 3, at least they never mentioned it in the stuff that I saw. The all entries must be original work of the artist.
I don't, no, those were their 2 sticking points. One was the number of, on the judging panel and who the judges were.
And since you were there talking to them and I was not, but I did not see also number 6, I didn't see any opposition to number 6 either.
There was nothing
Is
mentioned.
that correct? So the opposition that you're expressing would be specifically towards item 1 and proposed 4, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you.
No, I want to ask Rex a question.
We want to, go ahead, Mr. Vogler.
Rex, on that, I don't understand why would 5 instead of 3? What's the, what is that?
3.
Wouldn't that be more balanced or not? I don't understand why that would be an objection.
Well, they wanted 7 volunteers, and they wanted only 2 of those to be from the commission, and they wanted to be able to bring in 5 from outside who had the expertise in artwork or graphics, ducks. They don't feel that commissioners on a day-by-day basis have that background.
All right. And
But who
that,
would choose them? I mean, that's the.
Those are chosen by the
Sponsoring order.
by the sponsor. And they normally bring in somebody like someone from the Sierra Club and different organizations, and they'll bring in a graphics
No
person.
specifications.
So,
that's up to them to determine the other 5 people.
they pick people throughout that can come in and say, you know what, this print looks real. This print is easy to work with, to reprint. So that's where they're coming from.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Question for legal.
All right, let's go with further public comment. Further public comment. Seeing no further public comment, we'll close public hearing on this matter. Bring it back to the commission. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question for Brian. Is
Then
there
Mr.
any,
Capro next.
is there anything that in here that says that the person or the organization that is chosen, can they reprint that duck stamp for their gain? The duck stamp print?
Let me read this before I answer that question.
Okay, Commissioner
I don't
Capurro?
remember.
Maybe I could shed some light on that. Our resident expert on the duck stamp
Yeah,
left.
DeFrillo.
Yeah, he left. He has come up with some changes on the rules that apply, not in the policy itself, but the actual rules that I think cover what you're concerned about. And that is that, number one, we talked yesterday about the artwork, that photographs are not allowed under the rules, and he would add, or high-resolution scans, because we had talked about those yesterday. And secondly, change rule number 11, which currently says if the winning artist chooses to issue a limited edition, he or she must supply at his or her cost that. He says we could change that internally to the winning artist is required to issue a limited edition print series of the winning entry at his or her cost. 75 signed and numbered prints entitled, etc. I think it takes care of the $3,000 language that's in here, because that has heartburn for a lot of people.
Okay, and that is within their internal
Within the
deal.
internal rules, yes,
Okay, they can deal with that in their internal rules.
yes.
Okay, ready for